Selby, otherwise known as Bulldogs 46X. I'm here with Brandon White, Dave Ferguson, and CFD Fireman 2019. We're here to talk about, the upcoming Xfinity Series race in Dsrl. We're here to talk about the Daytona 500, and we're here to talk about last week's Eldora 3-night triple header. So, who would like to start us off here?
I say we start with the 3 nights.
So yeah, Dave, you kind of, you went and you did the 3 nights at Eldora. What was one thing, going forward? What did you see that kind of led to the next season? Led to the rest of the races?
I think we're going to have another sponsorship with more prize money.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic right there. I'm really glad to hear that. And with the 3 nights, we saw Dabs win the first night. Then we saw a 2-night sweep between David Wallace or NASCAR Extreme win the second and third night. So going into the rest of the dirt season, who do you think is going to be the strongest guy that's going to be able to win week in, week out?
Well, Kansas is way behind right now. So is David Wallace. Right now, it's anybody's season. It could be a return champion wins it, as in Danger Kid. It could be a rookie, Becky Lynch. It could be several rookies.
Well, back in the original stuff, I was really big in dirt and everything, and I kind of got out of it there for a while. Tomorrow is we're gonna go ahead and talk about the Xfinity Series that me and Brandon, the rest of the admins have kind of set up. Brandon, what do you see moving forward into the Xfinity Series, and do you think we're gonna have a pretty good race tomorrow?
I believe so. I can't really remember what happened last season for Xfinity, but I just hope it's better than the fuel strategy race that we had to sit through and watch.
Yeah, that was definitely hard to watch, as I remember, to see NASCAR fan, or now known as Republican Racing, set out front and lead from the last stage on in that race. Or we didn't run stages, but the last portion of the race on by fuel strategy. It was definitely interesting to see, and it was fun to commentate, but a little hard to watch, and just to see him run out in front. As we are running default setups in Xfinity.
We're also running stage races this time too.
Yeah, so. And we're running the stages. We're bringing back the stage racing into both of the asphalt series. Moving forward in that, do y'all think that the stage racing this season will make better racing as we've had it in previous seasons? We took it out over some stuff, and do y'all think we finally got it worked out where it's right this time?
I hope so.
I'm going to be in the same boat there, because we haven't got to test it yet. The Xfinity race is going to be the first time we've got to try it out.
Yeah, I remember the last one. I know we had the points a little thrown out there is when we had the stage winner was the only one that got points, and they got a 10-point run, and we didn't have a playoff then either. So it was definitely an interesting feat that we did to have that like that. But and then going into Wednesday, we've ran
Xfinity race tomorrow.
We've ran several races going into Daytona. We ran the shootout. We ran the duels. We have the front row in the party as Kansas had to, go step away and do something. I'm sitting on the front row of the Cup race, the Daytona 500. We'd kind of like, we have me and Brandon here representing Chevy, and we sadly don't have anybody in here representing Ford at the moment, but I know Toyota and Ford are working together. I know me and Brandon we've worked hard with some guys, and we think we have some of the most dominant cars at Daytona this week. Dave, what do you think? Where's your guys at? And I know you're working with the Ford camp. Where's that going to work out?
I think it's going to be an interesting race. I think it's going to be coming down to fuel mileage. I really do.
I mean, you always say that.
But you know
Well,
what?
every race can come down to fuel mileage.
I don't want to judge too early because I lost a handful of races at the end of the last season because of him saying that. So I'm glad I'm not running the 500 for that reason.
Well,
I mean, you thought you had it won at Richmond, and so
I thought I
so
had
the
a,
Republican.
I thought I had it one at Las Vegas, Richmond, and there was one more.
well, I am currently right now the only one in the party that has won at Daytona in Dsrl. I've won the 3 Daytona 500s. Never won the.
SHR only team so far working with Joe Gibbs.
I think Danny's watching the broadcast. uh, but we have, I've won quite a bit at Daytona. I've never. One thing going into Daytona that I've never done is I've never won the 3-car, and it's something I want to do really bad. Ever since I've been running the 3-car, I've not had the amount of success that I've had in the 31, the 13. But we'll have to see. Do you think we'll have something like it was in real life this year at Daytona and all the plate tracks thus far this season, where there's going to be manufacturer teams? It's just going to be a manufacturer's game.
Well, I mean, I guess so.
Dave, what do you?
Well, it's so hard to tell because there's pretty much 2 separate teams, even though there's 4 separate teams.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
you
gonna be
have
tough.
you have the outliner in Gar. I think we kind of underestimate him a little bit, but that whole team right now is kind of the underdog and the wild card that plays into this whole factor. You have
Now, Gar has run up front in the preseason, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see him up front.
Me either, and I've said it sometime, earlier in this week or last week at least. If it comes down to it, and I hate to say it, Gar is, he's got my setup, and it's going to be like a cold trickle type deal where we're pushing him off pit road. That's my car, that's my setup, that's my motor and that thing. But it's definitely, I don't want to see, even though I do kind of want to see, but as a racer standpoint, I would like to, see that, the bow tie brigade up in the front the whole race. But, as a fan standpoint, I wouldn't like to, I want to see some of it mix up. I don't want it to be single file. I want to see guys making moves on the high side. I'll go ahead and I'll share my plan to begin with. As I'm, with the damage ons, we haven't had a damage race at Daytona yet since they added it into the game. I'm more than likely probably going to ride around the back for the first half of the race and kind of punch it in the lat stage. What are y'all thinking on that?
That's pretty much what I'm going to do.
Well, the problem with that is if you have a bunch of guys trying to lane back, then you're going to have, it's just going to create the same racing and guys being aggressive again, which, I mean, I like to see that. Y'all know me, I'll say that I'm going to run up front or whatever, and then I'm going to drop back, then I'm going to be the first guy that's going to be making it 3 wide on the high side, trying to get to the lead off the getaway. So it's definitely going to be interesting. I don't really know what the fuel mileage is looking like for those first 2 stages. I do know the best. I mean, I think the Chevy camp has their strategy, and I'll share it if you will. If you'll share your Toyota strategy, Dave.
Nope.
There's a lot of closed doors around here. What are you saying, Brandon?
I do know about I know how well Kansas can do on that high side. I saw it before we even started the season, before the clash and all that. It's like He does have a setup that can run the high side, but
I always kind of prided myself in being able, and one thing that I've always been able to do at Daytona, if you're on somebody's quarter panel going into 3 and 4 or into 1 and 2 at Daytona, not Talladega, you will make that pass coming out of the corner. If you have enough cars lined up, if you're on their quarter panel, you'll go by them. So
I think the big thing is when you get there, how much control do you have when you hit that glitch? That's going to be key.
well, I mean, I've honestly never, I've never really had that big of a problem with the glitch. It's just, a little car control once it happens. What's going to be bad is if somebody hits it down there and takes out the whole field while they're in the lead. But
Yeah, that's good.
I think that's one reason you have, guys saying they're going to run in the back is because of that glitch at Daytona. And 704, I doubt you're watching, but please fix it in the next game. I hope you have. But, I mean, it's... One thing is I've noticed on the plate racing on all the heat games is there's not a really good way to block. If you're sitting there on that inside line...
I will be contender at Glen.
I mean, if you're sitting there on that inside... there's not a really good way to pull up and block that high side because there's not really two consistent lines that form the whole way around there. You have the high side that's just going to make one run and push somebody to the lead is the way the plate racing works. You're going to be able, they're going to push, maybe a couple guys out in front and that's going to be it. But if that inside car pulls out and blocks there, that you're going around more than likely, or you're going into the wall or something. So.
well, especially in Heat 4 too, where it seems like it's a little bit more easier to turn the guy that's right in front of you. So that'll be something to watch for once we get to Talladega.
Yeah, once we get to Talladega, I want that, because, it's more realistic. And the cars in this game, the physics are all wrong. If I go up and hit somebody in the quarter panel, I shouldn't wreck, they should wreck. But...
if someone block late, I will not
And
lift
what
for
I
them.
actually might, yeah, I'm gonna extend the Xfinity schedule by one race. I mean, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. I'm gonna add in Talladega because I actually don't have that race in there. So
Okay.
we'll do a double NASCAR Heat 4 doubleheader that week.
Alright, that sounds pretty good for the Xfinity series there. And
That'll be
actually
right
it
after Dover, I believe.
ain't Danny that's currently in the chat. It's Gar that's in the YouTube chat, and I think he just took a quote from Brad Keselowski, and he said he's not lifting. So,
Yeah. Well, he can't lift because we're just gonna be out in front of him the entire time.
well, one thing, racing these bigger leagues and racing Outlaw and racing Midnight and all these different leagues, the one thing they preach, the only two cars that should be bumper to bumper is 1 and 2. And if you're trying to make it in that line, if all the cars are lined up on that inside, the only two cars that should be locked in bumper to bumper are the first two. And I full-heartedly agree with it because the third place car has probably the best advantage to save that fuel and to get there like that. But it is what it is. After we can do all the statistics and all that, and, who's won the most plate races, and, who's run up front at the plate tracks. Honestly, it don't matter. It don't. It could be whoever's out front, and, one guy can absolutely dominate the race and be shuffled to the back within the last 10 laps. It's a luck of the draw type event. It's fun, and it's great to race, but it's Daytona, there's a lot of luck involved. Wouldn't y'all have to agree?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, pretty much the only place you really want to be is up front because But now we do have that rule on the final lap. I mean, any moves are possible. Everything's legal.
I will say this: if somebody pulls down below me and tries to go on the apron, I'm blocking it on the last lap. And I mean, I would think the same if everybody else would do it.
Yeah.
Well,
You know.
all I got to say is, you go down there, I ain't letting you up.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to wreck me to get back up on the track if it's the last lap. I don't care.
Yep.
Take out the whole field. It's last lap. But I mean,
That could be very interesting too. We
the
could
thing
see a
is,
first-time winner.
the thing is, I mean, what's the guy that's currently in the league that hasn't won a race in points cup race? The one guy I'm looking at from that thing is a guy that's always ran well at the plate tracks. I know y'all can say stuff about him and all that shit of how he, you know, I'm looking at Street. Every time we go into Daytona, he runs it and he's ran good.
Yeah, I am too.
He's ran good at every plate race he's ran. He runs up front. He won some stages.
He let this bad luck with Day T.
He won some stages in previous Daytona 500s. He's led a lot of laps at Daytona. If there's one guy that ain't won a race in Cup yet, a points race at Daytona that has the best chance, I'm saying it's Street.
Well, I'm actually going to add on to that. I mean, I think this is just a random debate that we started, but
I
don't
ending this
think
bad
he's
luck
won
at Daytona
a
for
points
me.
paying race yet. I could be wrong, but
No, Nick did win. He won one at Las Vegas. He won one at Las Vegas, and he actually is a previous winner at Daytona.
Okay.
There was a wreck. He pulled down the block on the last lap and wrecked the field, but he did win. I've always been very adamant about not taking wins away, and we will continue that. If a guy crosses the finish line first, he wins.
There's another guy that I was thinking about too. I want to say Albert too, but he's not exactly there yet.
I mean,
Working through the list here.
guys that hasn't won. Dave, is there anybody on your team that hasn't won a race, points paying race yet? Oh, Albert. Albert, who's your Albert, and then who's your? I know it's you, Albert, Kenseth, and who's your other guy? Oh, Tom. Tom, yeah. He's definitely another wild card that, that's going to be interesting. I know a lot of these guys on teams, as I've worked with my guys, that, we're going to try to get lined up. But my thing is I just don't know really the guys on y'all's team. I know some of them, I know most of them, but there's a couple of those guys out there that's going to be outliners, and they're going to go. They're going to step out of that manufacturer role. That I've been trying to play with my guys, and, we'll see. Guys and girls. And girl. I got to remember that I'm the first owner to ever have a female driver on the team. So
That's going to be real cool.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the list right now, we got Napa, Albert, Street, Gunner, Humpy, and the girl.
Street has been. The reason I say Street is he's almost like the Michael Waltrip of the league at this point. He has ran the most races and not won. He has been there he's ran.
Anyways.
Hey, I'm saying he's gonna win. I'm saying he's gonna win at some point, okay? I'm saying he's gonna win at some point. Street's honestly probably the one guy I wouldn't. I more than likely wouldn't wreck Nick for the win. I probably wouldn't wreck Street for the win. Brandon, you're not in it, so.
Yeah, I can't wreck anybody. Yet.
Yet. I'm not. The whole thing here is the team, and I'm not going to put my team in a bad situation by wrecking one of them. Because,
Has Buck won a race?
Buck has won multiple races, yes. He has won. I think he's won like 11 in Dsrl. Yeah,
This must have been before my time, so.
yeah, it was. It
Watch out
definitely,
for Buck and Humpy.
it
I
was.
will emoji smiling eyes.
Buck just, I mean not Buck, but Gary just said, watch out for Buck and Humpy. Uh, Definitely, Buck's a guy that can go up there and win. He's going to his home track, and also another past winner. He won the July race last season at Daytona. So, yeah. So I mean, it's definitely there's a lot of factors that can play into this, and a lot of different things. I can't wait to get the season started. As you know, we've made some different things to the schedule, and we've changed it around a little bit. What is the one race that everybody? I know mine that's circled. I'll let y'all go first. But what's the one race that we've added new to the schedule that has everybody's kind of eyeballs
I
popping
won
out?
multiple sometimes.
I haven't seen the updated schedule.
Well,
Oh yeah, we haven't
it's
finalized yet.
it's finalized. I gotta just put it on a spreadsheet or whatever. That what Brandon just wrote down the admin's chat is finalized. The one race that I'm looking at is a race that one of my drivers have already claimed and said they're gonna win. Is the Roval. That's gonna be interesting. And I would suggest that everybody go ahead and start practicing now. It's gonna be different. I really hope it's not a wreck fest. But you never really know.
Yeah, that could be the best DSRL race we've ever had.
It very well could be,
About
and
it.
it could be the absolutely worst one. We could see a finish like they had in real life there. Last year. It's the first time.
I remember the worst race we ever had, but we won't talk about that.
The worst race we ever had was that Talladega race with Chase. But
No, it was the week before at Dover,
oh, that was bad.
or the week after, one or two. I don't know.
It was
Dover, though.
yeah, I know what you're talking about at Dover. Where like me and him both jumped the last restart and tried to wreck each other for the win.
It was just a complete rip fest the entire race.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But
we've grown since then.
we've grown since then. We've got some better drivers, and taking him out really helped the league last season. I will.
For Pocono, watch out for 2-car and 1-2-car.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the center of the schedule, and Chicagoland and Auto Club back to back. I think those two will be really good.
Well, I will say this right now. Everybody needs to watch out for those Chevys at Chicagoland.
Chicago Auto Club.
And the reason I'm saying this, I'm not trying, to be cocky or whatever. I own the world. I'm number one on the all-time leaderboard there in Xfinity. I'm number third. I'm number 3 on the all-time per cup. So we've definitely got some bad fast race cars going into Chicagoland, and looking at the first 5 races of the schedule, we don't go to a mile and a half until I think race 6 of the season. I can't really think what race that is. I think it's.
We don't go to a mile and a half until Chicagoland.
And what race?
Race 12.
Wow.
Race number 12. Michigan is a 2-mile track, but that's not really on.
Well, I mean, it's a different race than what we would see at a mile and a half because it's going to be a lot more draft and everything.
Well, we also got Darlington, but
that's not a mile and a half. It's like a 1.438 mile. We definitely have we have a very wide variety of tracks that make up that first part of the season.
Michigan, I got good car.
The second half is where it
Happy
gets boring.
tears.
Not kidding. Sorry.
And then later on, we kind of decide the championship. It's a mile and a half, and last race of the season's at Atlanta, which we've ran there before, and it would make for a pretty good championship race. So I'm definitely excited to see that. And to go back to Atlanta for the championship. What, I mean...
Actually, I wouldn't be adding a race to Xfinity unless we add another one in.
But, you know, going forward, where's some tracks y'all have and some events y'all have circled out that there's some drivers that's really going to be able to stand out at those tracks? New guys, you know, that we don't see up front all the time. I know Daytona's the big one, but I think we kind of got that covered earlier.
Well, something that I just now really noticed, we got all 3 road course races on this schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the Glen, the Roval, then we got Sonoma. So I think one of those 3 will definitely be a showcase, and Bristol is always a showcase, so...
Oh, how many first-time winners do y'all think we're going to have this season?
It's too hard to tell.
Yeah. I'd probably say about maybe like 2 at max. Just because there's not that many you can really say. Like
well, I'm
said,
gonna go.
I'm
gonna go out on a limb here and say Street wins a plague track at some time during the season.
Oh, I just see that.
I see it happening. I see Street winning the plate track.
Becky won a race, right?
Yeah, he won Atlanta last season. I know that. I think he won some more too. I see Gunner maybe winning a race at some point during the season.
Well, with the setups now, they're just going to be able to receive.
Yeah, and that's that's the big thing is I'm giving some guys setups and some stuff like that on my team, and I've given a whole lot, and I'm giving them my exact setup. I'm not changing anything on it, so.
I see a female winning too.
Yeah, I see. I ain't raced with her any. I see her winning. I see the first female winner in Dsrl history happening. I will say this, and I have been a very progressive team owner in the past. At Kentucky during the 3rd season, I had the first ever African American driver in a car, and that would be Terrence, now Wendell Scott. So the Chevy camp has definitely been a very progressive team over the past, several seasons in Dsrl, and I'm finally glad, we have a female driver in the league. I think, it's definitely going to help us with, some sponsorship, stuff like that. Me and Brandon are talking, and we've decided we're going to have some trophies for some races this season we're going to give out. I know one for Indy that I've already got, and we've already decided on. I've got like 40 bricks out here behind the shed, and I'm going to mail a brick to the winner.
It's a good idea.
I never use them. I was going to make a fire pit out of them, but I ain't got, any lining or anything like that, and it's a little expensive, so got too many anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and mail a brick to the winner for Indy. I think that's going to be pretty cool to see and have that done. We always talk about the crown jewel races, and I know Dsrl has kind of has our own crown jewel races. I think we've decided on, and y'all and everybody wants those races that they want to win out. The home tracks and races they like and all that. Dave, what would be your crown jewel tracks in your opinion?
Darlington for one.
Oh, for sure. That Southern 500 is always, it's one of the 2 races, one of the 2 crown jewels, well, actually one of the 3 crown jewels, because I count Watkins Glen in there for Dsrl.
I'd say Atlanta.
Atlanta's a good track, and it's always had, if it's one of the only tracks it's been in every single DSRL season. So definitely interesting to see there, and I'm glad, that that track has a long history within DSRL, and I like it being the playoff. I like it being, the deciding race. I like to change that every year, but it should be fun to
We
see
don't
that
have
race.
Pocono, do we?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. We just ain't got it
17
twice.
Thank God.
Brandon,
Twice is a little much.
what would be your two? What would be your not two, but what would be your crown jewel races in DSRO?
I'm actually going to choose 3 right here, just like Dave did. I'm going to go Watkins Glen. This might be stretching it, but I'm just going to say Indy, just because we've had multiple winners there, and the final one obviously is what could have produced the best DSRL race in history, that being the Bristol Night Race.
I would have to say the Bristol would probably be number 1 on my list, and just the significance of Daytona in general. Daytona 500 is always going to be, the number 1 crown jewel. Everybody wants to go out there and win. And I'm actually going to go out on a limb here. We've got a lot of new faces in the league and a lot of new talent and the teams and the way we've done it this season. I'm saying this season's Daytona 500 is going to be the best race in DSRL history thus far. But Bristol, Daytona, and I'm going to go ahead and do 4 because I ain't won these 2. I've won every single one that I would consider a crown jewel besides, these 3, Watkins Glen, Indy, and Darlington. I've been screwed out of Indy and Darlington so many times I can't imagine. I want to win those 2 bad, and that's my big ones. And then, Watkins Glen, I want to win it when I've worked on the road course aspect, and we're going straight from Daytona to Watkins Glen. We're going to have guys on top of each other 3 straight weeks in a row there. So I like it, and I think we're going to go ahead and sign off the Dog Pound podcast. This has been Bulldog 46X.
I tell you, the person who I think is going to get Darlington would be Becky Lynch.
Yeah, it'd be redemption.
Man, I want to win it bad.
He's looking for redemption.
I want it bad.
He was kind of screwed out of it last year.
Who won it last
Because he
year?
had to leave. Who won it?
Yeah.
Buck, wasn't it?
I think Republican.
No, Buck won it the first year we ran it.
No, wait, it was a sub driver.
No, that was the season before.
Oh yeah, I didn't run Darlington. That was one of the races I missed.
But I mean, Becky Lynch lapped the field.
We'll see. I also didn't run that race. I've heard great things about rolling at Darlington, and I know that's one reason that Danny picked him up is because of that Darlington setup. So,
Oh yeah.
it's definitely going to be interesting to see. And going into Daytona, I'm kind of looking for redemption. I've won the 3 Daytona 5. I've won 3. I missed out on the 4th one, got wrecked multiple times. I came back, clawed back, then got wrecked again on the last lap. But never won at Daytona in the 3 car, and I really want to, really bad. Gonna go ahead and kind of unveil my Daytona scheme. It's gonna be the Silver Secret. Never lost in a Dell Senior scheme in DSRL. Little fun fact. Never lost in the 31 Wrangler scheme, and never lost in the
I'm driving for SHR and spin.
in the 3. in the Silver Secret last season. So definitely going to be interesting. Like I said before, this is going to be Bulldog signing off. Brandon White, Dave Ferguson. Brrr.